Hi, this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shrugging with Atlas. This is the most clever title I think I've ever come up with. It was bugging me. I'm like exiting the rat race. No, that's not catchy. Leaving the rat race. No, that's not right. And I've been pondering it all morning, trying to figure out what to call this class. And I'm like, what the fuck do I call it? And I built my master class. I have that up and ready to go now. I have a lot of things that are just kind of like, I love it when you get an idea that's aligned to you. It just click, 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 click. And it's like, yes, that is what I call destiny. It, like, really, this is the call of destiny. When you find your alignment and it just click, 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 click. It's the universe gives it to you. And I'm sitting here, I had my lunch and I'm thinking, what do I call this thing? Because it's so lame to call it exiting the rat race. Like, what do I call this thing? And I thought about calling it burning the man. But I'm like, no, 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 that's going to draw in the wrong type of people. I love burners, but they're already out of the race. They're already there. And I'm like, come on, what is this? And I would end up with a bunch of burners who are like, yeah, but I'm already done. I don't need your class because I'm there. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? No, I needed something different. And I kept going back to Atlas because the whole point of Atlas Shrugged, is how to exit the system. Like, that's the whole thing, is you're following Dagny Taggart, my favorite, most amazing character I've ever loved in all my life. Dagny is amazing. And I'm like following Dagny going, okay, and it's her story of how she finally gets to the point where she says, fuck it, I'm done. And that's it. It's everything that takes place up to that moment when she says, fuck it, I'm done. And then she leaves the rat race. And in fact, it was her quote, I swear by my life and my love for it that I will never live for another man nor let another man live for me. I memorized that when I was 15. I read that and I went, that is my ethic. And I fused it to my brain. And almost every day I say those words. This is part of my mantra. I swear by my life and my love for it that I will never live for another man, nor let another man live for me. This was my hope thread, my beacon in the dark, my guiding light. Like, I needed this. So when I put together this whole podcast today and the corresponding masterclass, I sat there and went, what do I call it? And it just kept going back to Atlas Shrugged. And I'm like, that's what I'll call it. Atlas Shrugged. No, that's taken. Shrugging with Atlas. That's so beautiful. That's poetic. That's like, and welcome to another episode with Shrugging with Atlas. And I love it. I love it so much. So if you have not read Atlas Shrugged, I have not touched the movie. I'm afraid. I'm a book enthusiast. So when I see shit that Hollywood does with movies, I go, "Oh God, please, not another fatality." That is exactly my mindset every time I see Hollywood touch another book. Read the book. Oh my fucking God, who is Jungled? Like, oh my God, amazing shit. So I put it together, Shrugging with Atlas, and it is such gorgeousness. I'm like, yes, yes. This is shifting perspectives and shrugging with Atlas. I'm loving my brain. And by the way, when I wrote Broken, these are the kind of titles that I came up with for all of my parts in the book. Not my chapter. I didn't do chapter titles. I did 5. It was a 5-part story. And I had like Waking Pavlov's Dog. It's like, I love that one. Waking Pavlov's Dog. God, I love the double entendre. I had more double entendre with Psych Talk. And then there was Agent Clockwork Orange. Yeah, that one. And I did it 5 different times. And then there was Breaking the Looking Glass, Breaking Alice's Looking Glass, or something to that effect. It was something about breaking the looking glass. And oh my God. And the book starts with Don Quixote's quote about questioning what is reality. And then it's all of these different, I just need to read Broken to you. I just need to read Broken. I have not yet read it since I've entered the 8th perspective because I just haven't done it. And I'm really tempted to read Broken. Like, I'm really tempted to read Broken, but it's intense. It's fucking intense. Like, holy fucking shit, but I really need to read Broken. So I wrote a book called Broken, and it was me in 2015. I was right on the cusp of my breaking point, that bottom of the barrel low, that moment when you hit rock bottom and you realize, I need to change. And I wrote Broken to analyze what needs to change. Let's assess the situation. So I wrote Broken, 90,000 words in 2 weeks. I want to put you in, let me give you some perspective here. When you have an author, a good author, an accomplished author, will write 2,000 words a day, which means I should have written the first draft in 45 days, but I wrote it in 2 weeks. And that was including editing. That's like, and then there is the monster who is Brandon Sanderson, who writes like 45,000 words a day. Not really. He writes, I think he writes 4,000 words a day. Brandon Sanderson. He's a machine, that man. He really, truly, he writes, that man is an author. Like, yeah, I don't know how he does anything other than write books. But yeah, I crammed, like, I just poured everything out into this book. And by the time I had the epiphany, I hit rock bottom while I was writing the book. So you get to see the perspective shift occur while I was writing it. And I did, and it shifted, and wow. But I haven't gone back yet. So this is, and I've basically, this last weekend, I had this massive epiphany of, oh, my niche is non-conformist LGBTQIA and polyamory, BDSMers, kinksters, lifestylists, the core of non-conformity. They are the ones who are abused the most because they are so different. And they suffer the most because they are so absolutely severely different, so extremely different. They are such wide spectrums that there was no chance these people could conform. And it hurt them so much to try and conform. So I get it. And I'm one of them. And I walked away from it all. There was no healing for me in the traditional therapy. There wasn't, because I was a nonconformist. I got there and I had nonconformists telling me how I needed to conform to their shit. And I had a couple really good therapists, but there was a lot of stuff that they were regurgitating from textbooks. Like, there were days where my therapist said to me, okay, I'm going to tell you what I have to say to you, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say to you. There were so many days like that. And she would tell me, this is what the government wants me to tell you. There. And she would go into this massive textbook script. Literally, they're scripted. This is what they have to say to you. And then she would do now I'm going to tell you the real shit. And she would give me like a black market version of psychiatry. Literally. That's how fucking shady it is. She did that to me so many times because I outsmarted her, because I knew better. And that's just it. You guys don't know better because you haven't studied this fucking shit. When you study, you get to basically, psychology is right through the first 4 years. It's when you get to the 10th year that you start to figure shit out. And then you keep your studies and you start to really figure shit out. That's when a lot of 50% of people drop out of psychology because their ethics start to come into the issue of, this isn't ethical practice. So 50% of psychiatrists and therapists and psychologists drop out of the profession because it is unethical. 50 fucking percent. That's a clue. See, this is the dirt on toxic psychology that everyone covers up in the field, which is why I'm like, I'm not touching that fucking shit. Even they know it's unethical. So I'm in therapy And she would sit there and she'd coach me, she'd go through it, and then she'd finally stop and say, look, I'm going to give you the script that the government told me I have to say. And she would. And then she went, all right, now I'm going to tell you the real shit. And the real shit was a completely different, because it's philosophy based, because it's logical, because it's ethical. But that's not what therapy is. Therapy is, let's get these people healed enough to continue functioning in my machine. That is what the purpose of therapy is. It just pisses me the fuck off. But so that being said, yeah, so putting everything together, like I'm very excited about this, because it's like this massive, it's just this massive coming together, it's understanding, and it's like, oh, I'm this way. And it really just kind of solidified. And when it did that, it changed the way I do the videos. It changed the way I do everything, because I'm not trying to cater to a bunch of conformists. And as a result, I was attracting a lot of conformists. And that should have been my tip off. And I'm going, why the fuck am I attracting a lot of conformists? So I changed my mindset. And I will be covering this I cover this in my business classes, and I cover this in this particular podcast. And I explain that when you have a mindset of X, that's what you attract. That's what you're putting out there. That's what your marketing does. That's what everything reflects. And then when you change that mindset, you get something completely different. You really get a lot that's different. So you have to, and you are either going to conform to the audience you have, or the audience is going to conform to your mindset. And if you conform to your audience instead of the other way around, what you end up doing is putting yourself in your own little box. You end up putting your limitations on you, and then you're not happy, and you're not showing up, and you're not consistent, and your business suffers. And this is why. It's because you are not being authentic, because you are catering to the desires and wishes of somebody else. You are giving the people what they want instead of being authentic and letting the right people come to you. That is so fucking vital when you build a business. And my swearing is a great example of this. If I swear because I don't give a shit. I swear because I really don't give a fuck, because it's real, because people swear. And the only reason why anyone says swearing is bad is because a bunch of Christians deemed it bad for proprietary reasons back in the Victorian era. And I'm not Victorian, and I don't live in the 16th or the 17th or the 18th century. And I'm real, and I live in Brooklyn. And yeah, I've been through fucking shit. So I swear, primarily because I don't believe in fucking propriety. I don't have a day job to try and impress anyone or have professionalism. It's bullshit. So why would I not swear? And I had a lot of people at first, well, your clients aren't going to like that. Okay, let's get something straight. If my clients have a problem with swearing, they are not my clients. They are not my clients. So actually, just by being myself and having my gorgeous potty mouth, I am already filtering the right people to me and pushing away the wrong people, which is fantastic. That's how it's supposed to go. But according to fourth perspective business styles and fourth perspective thinking, I should be conforming to make everybody comfortable. And that's the problem. When you start conforming so that everyone is comfortable, suddenly every word I say is going to offend somebody. It's one of my favorite lines from the musical 1776, when they're looking at the Declaration of Independence. And they are going through everything, and they talk about fishing rates. They talk about how they're going to address the king. At one point, they call the king a tyrant. And John Adams jumps up and he's like, leave it alone. And they try and scratch it out. And somebody says that that's not an appropriate term. And the argument is made, oh, for God's sakes, this is a revolution. We have to offend somebody. And John Hancock says, scratch it back in, please. The king will remain a tyrant. And that's exactly it. You're going to offend somebody. And it's when you stop trying to figure out, it's when you start tiptoeing when you try and offend nobody. When you become, and this is the problem with six perspectives. This is their weak spot. Is six perspectives try to not offend anyone. And now that's where you get into being too nice. Take a look at the book, Not Nice by Dr. Aziz Gazipura. Oh my God, he articulates this topic so well. When you are not nice, Not nice is actually narcissistic words for let me walk all over you. And we think that not having boundaries is a good thing because, oh, well, I want to prioritize being nice, so I won't have boundaries. We do that. We're taught to do that. You don't want to offend anyone, so never say no. I was taught that saying no was disobedient to anybody. I was taught that because I was a girl, I should never use the word no. So that by the time I was 12 and boys were asking for shit or telling me to do shit, the word no never even entered my vocabulary because that's not nice. And that's the kind of bullshit we are raised in. Having to make sure everybody gets everybody's way, even the abusers, which is why we're abused so much. Now, I throw all that garbage out. I'm effectively I throw it all out. No, be true to yourself. Prioritize yourself. Prioritize your niche, your business, your goals, your missions. And the people who belong to you, the people who will love you for you, will find you and they will come to you. And it is such a hardcore lesson because we want to be good people. We truly do want to be good people. But we have confused what good means. We don't know what good looks like. So we're all doing a bunch of nice behavior. We're all doing a bunch of conditioned and obedient behavior. We're all pretending to be doormats for the narcissists because that's what we think is good people. And our definition of good is absolutely fucked up now. So properly decent, healthy people are being, well, they're not healthy, are being walked all over. And that mindset is what keeps you poor. That mindset is what keeps you a slave. That mindset is what keeps you serving a system so it can drain you. That's what they want of you. And when I started this endeavor, I was prioritizing everybody else's thoughts, everybody's opinions. I thought, okay, this time I want to build a business the right way and on purpose. So I'm going to just follow what everybody else is doing until I can figure it out for myself. And then I got to a point where I realized that was the problem, is I was following what everybody else wanted. And it stops being authentic when you do that. You lose the authenticity. There is no wrong way to build a business. There is only the inauthentic way. And that's it. That is it right there. The only wrong way to do anything is inauthentically. The only wrong way to live a life, the only wrong way to raise children. No, that's not true. That's a different topic. I'm going to keep my parenting and my opinion on parenting out of that. That's for another podcast. The only way to build anything is authentically. If you are worried about fucking it up, then just be true to yourself and you can't fuck it up because you are the master of you. You are absolutely the master of your dreams. You can't go wrong when it's about you. You are the leading expert on you. You do it your way. You be weird with it. You take it as far out as you can possibly go. And if someone comes along and says, well, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Excuse you. You are not the master of me. You do not know what I prioritize, what I want, and what I value. And that's really what it comes down to. I have had a massive problem with my ethics versus money. I simply cannot have anything in my life without me understanding if it's ethical and understanding if it matches and aligns to my truth. And until I figure this out, I cannot accept it into my life. So I live without certain things right now until I can figure out the ethical answer to it, which is why I'm celibate, is because I have to figure out the ethics of how it aligns with me. And until I do that, I can't touch it. I'm in the process of picking up my labels, well, my names. I've shed all the labels, and now I am cherry picking each and every one of my names, each and every one of my opinions. This is the process of building an authentic life. This is what it looks like. This is what you are trying to do, is piecemeal your authenticity back together. And you are going to have to go through each and every little thing with a fine-tooth comb and put it back together. It's so much fun. but it takes time, but it's so much fun. And I went through this stage, so many different stages where I was it was such a complex time of my life. I could not figure out my sexuality. It was bisexual, no, lesbian, no, maybe, yes, yes. There's a lot about lesbian that feels right. It's confusing. Then there's polyamory, monogamy, pansexual. There was so much non-monogamous-ish. And I finally just shed all the labels and I just threw them away and went, well, I'm queer, which is a fantastic word for it all goes in the box. It all goes in the box of nonconformity. And I don't have to explain it to anybody, and I don't have to define it, and I don't have to put labels on it. I'm queer. It's fantastic. It's a one size fits all. It's fantastic. And it solved a huge, huge part of my sexual identity. That's it. That's where I'm at. And now when people ask, and it's hilarious. Now when people ask, I can throw that word at them and then I can let them try and figure it out. Because it doesn't matter. It's not their business for starters. But really, that's not what they're asking. But figuring out every little piece of your authentic self and then adding it to your cocktail of you. This is what healing is. This is exactly the mission. But you can't do that until you break down all the bullshit that's been built up. So you might be all right, you might be coming here to the healing garden with all of the bullshit stacked on you. And you might be completely confused and burdened with all of the perspectives of other people. You might have the wrong labels in you. You might have the invasive perspectives inside of you. You might have a subconscious mind that's loyal to your parents, but completely destroying you in that process. You might be contaminated with fears, horrific fears that your fear system has disguised as toxic beliefs. You might be cultivating a mental environment so that your behavioral defenses can flourish and alter your behavior to conform to an invasive perspective. Or you might be halfway through that mess, cleaning it all up. You might be in the process of trying to figure out how to remove a limiting belief. You might be in the process of getting rid of the limiting beliefs, but now you don't know what's there because now you've got an empty void and you got to fill it and you have no idea who you are. You might be in that stage where you're experimenting and learning and just trying to sample everything to figure out who you are and what you are. You're defining yourself. You're in your naming. Maybe you have figured out all of the ice cream flavors that you love, but you don't know any of their names. So maybe you're in the naming. And maybe you have figured out your naming and you know who you are and you've got all your ice cream flavors and all the toxic beliefs are out. Maybe you're at the tail end and you're stable and you're happy and everything is just fucking epic for you. And then you find something that pops up and you go, oh, look at that. It's one more, apparently that. And when you pick up that one thing and you put it into your system, it changes the game. And you have a massive perspective shift. And you're just sitting there looking at everything you've created and you go, fuck, that's not aligned to me now. Every time we experience a new perspective shift, everything in our life becomes unaligned. And it requires that our whole life become aligned again. And unfortunately for you, that includes my business. So every time I experience a perspective shift, I've got to pick up the healing garden and shift it a few degrees to accommodate a new change. Welcome to the beginning of a business. You're here in the early stages. Eventually, I think it is there. I think finally I'm home because this time the vibration is so spot on that I cannot feel any other misalignment. It's the first time I experienced a shift and there is nothing else out of place. The last time I had a shift, I felt two things still out of place. And that was the last time. Today or this weekend, I found those two things. I shifted them and I'm going, all right, what's next? And I'm waiting and I don't feel anything. And I'm going, I think that was it. I think that was it. This is what it looks like when you decide to build off of the authentic self. So now it's cherry picking the marketing, letting people know. And it's suddenly an openness and inviting. Now I can connect with the people that I work with because now I care about those people because those people are my people. Suddenly I'm eager to get to work and I'm eager to jump in and find more of my community because they get me. I don't have to try and explain myself to people who are looking at me like I'm a freak because they get me. They struggled. They had the same problems. They were suppressed the same ways. They get it. I see people suffering and I'm like, oh, I get it. I absolutely get it. They're my people. This is the journey you have decided to take on. And I'll tell you, it is extraordinary. If you love shit like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want more shit like this, take a look at my amphitheater. That is where you unlock a massive amount of self-care regimen with daily antidotes to help you do your self-care on time and efficiently, to help you start reviving and awakening your identity and your ego. And if you cannot get enough shit like this, join my integration workshop, become a Healing Garden member, and gain full access to the Power of Self Masterclass. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.